My favorite comedian, Andrew Schultz, once said, the mayor of New York is the second most powerful person in the United States after the president of the US. And he may be up to something because I was shocked the reception, the meeting between President Trump and Mayor-elect Mamdani received in the media in the US. It was like President Trump was meeting with a world leader from another country. But New York is just a city in the US, even though the biggest one. And makes me realize that Andrew Schultz may be up to something. The mayor of New York may be the second most important political position in the US. Remember when they used to call Mayor Rudy Giuliani America's mayor, even though he was just the mayor of New York? That is what came on mind when I saw how the media was all over Mamdani and Trump. Is Andrew Schultz right? Is the mayor of New York the second most powerful person in the United States? Even more powerful than the vice president of the United States? Let me know what you think about that. But while you are thinking about that, my name is Nenebi Tony. I'm a Ghanaian writer who lives in the US. On this channel, I talk about geopolitics from the perspective of an African. And what I'm going to do today is try to look at the meeting between Mamdani and Donald Trump from my lens, which is geopolitics from the perspective of an African. So subscribe to my channel if that's something you're interested in, and then let's move on. So one thing I've learned from living in the US is this. Everything is political. Americans turn everything to politics. And they turn the craziest, most mundane things to politics. I'll give you an example. If you went to the gym and you saw somebody working out, and you asked them, why are you working out? And they said, I'm working out because I want to get in shape and be fit. That means that that person will vote Republican. If the person told you that I want to get healthy and feel good about myself, that means that the person is likely to vote Democrat. Just the use of the word fit or health will tell you everything about the person's politics. It's crazy. It's crazy that it's very, very American how the supposedly unpolitical things will tell you everything about the person's politics. The church they go to, the brand of water they drink, everything will tell you about politics. That is why people keep talking about how America is so divided or things like that. I don't think it's ever going to get to a point where Americans will not be divided, because the political division in America is so imbibed into their culture that nothing can take it out. It's never going to happen. I'll be surprised if it does. This is important because Mamdani is a Democrat and Trump is a Republican, and they said a lot of crazy things about each other when they were running. And so people expected that when Mamdani becomes the mayor and Trump is the president, they are going to continue to feud, because every leader in Blue City who have, served while Trump has been president have taken the route of feuding with Trump. Sometimes it's unhelpful for the citizens, but it is just how America is, like I said. So Mamdani taking the step that, instead of feuding with the president of the United States, let's get along. And Trump saying, instead of feuding with the mayor of New York, where I was born, let's get along. I think that is a smart thing. That is something that African leaders can emulate. Sometimes your opponent may have things that you can borrow from. Sometimes you may have ideas that would help your opponent. Personally, I like to do that. For example, I am a huge libertarian. I am a conservative. I'm a capitalist. It's surprising for people to hear because I'm an incrementalist as well. But as a libertarian, I have a lot of friends. Almost all my friends are progressive. And sometimes I may have an idea that I believe will help my progressive friends in their political pursuit. I always will share it with them. Like, yo, I was reading this thing by Karl Marx. I read everybody. I read Karl Marx. I read. I was about to mention that I read the dude in Germany, but yeah, I've read some things he's written. I read everybody. So I'll be reading Karl Marx and I'll have an idea based on something I read from Karl Marx's book. And I'll call my progressive friend, yo, I read Karl Marx, he said this, and that. I think that if you implement this in your strategy, it will work this, that way. I don't agree with how they are going to do things or what they want to do, but I believe that politics is about results. The way left people or progressives want to get to the result is different from the way I want to get to the result. I don't believe in government. I believe that the private sector is the best engine for development. My progressive friends believe otherwise. So if I have an idea that can make government better, I'm quick to share it with my progressive friends. If they have ideas that will make my pursuit of capitalism, I have a few businesses. My progressive friends share them with me, right? And so I believe that the unity between or the meeting between Trump and Mamdani lends itself to that way of thinking that you can work together with people even if you don't agree with them. And I'm about to share a story with you that illustrates that. So, when I first came to the US, I didn't know about the political divide that I told you about, how everything in America is based on politics. So I was an African, just moved here, talk to people, I like to hang out. I hope there is an ambulance or a police car behind me. I hope it doesn't. Yeah, I think my mic will pick it up. Don't worry about it. So when I came to the US as an African, I had a low idea of the political climate in America based on what I've read in books and what I've seen in the news. But one thing you realize when you move to America is the America you see on TV and read in books is different from the America you see in person. So, one cultural shock I realized in America is Americans are very, very nice people. Like extremely friendly, extremely nice guys. You'll be shocked to realize that. And I was also in the South in Arkansas, so even more nice. Ghanaian hospitality? Southern hospitality is like Ghanaian hospitality times two. That's basically what it is. And so I became friends with this guy from a place called Harrison, Arkansas. Harrison, Arkansas is where the KKK headquarters is. Or I think, yeah, Harrison, Arkansas is where the grandmaster of the KKK lives. And so people in America think that everybody in the southern part of America is racist. People in the southern part of America think that everybody who lives in Arkansas is more racist than the rest of the South. People in Arkansas think that everybody in Harrison, Arkansas is extremely racist, which may or may not be true. I don't know enough about racism in America to make judgment on that. But my friend is from Harrison, Arkansas. He's a Trump supporter. By every account, he's supposed to be a racist guy. But I actually got to find out he was from Harrison later on in our friendship. By that time, we had become so close. We were always cracking jokes at each other. So I'm not going to stop being friends with somebody just because there is a perception that he's racist, even though he hasn't been racist towards me. Good. And so I was hanging out with my friend once and I said, you people. And in America, the expression you people is has a racist undertone. In Ghana, you people is just an expression. In America, when somebody says you people, it's usually a white person being racist towards a black person. So when I said you people, my friend from Harrison, Arkansas said, Tony, you are appropriating my culture. And I'm like, which culture? And it was like, my white racist culture. Harrison, Arkansas, like I said, is where the grandmaster of the KKK lives. So the perception is that he, my friend, is a racist white person. So because we are friends, it was easy for him to say you are appropriating my white racist culture by saying you people. And at that point, I didn't know that you people had a racist undertone in the US. So he pointed out to me that, yeah, the history behind it and all that. I learned a lot about actually racism from him because he was aware of the things that he would do and say that would make people see him as racist, right? And so that was one of the things that I realized that, if you look past stereotypes of people, you can form bonds with them, anybody in the world. That is what Mamdani and Trump demonstrated. And two, I also learned that if you move to a new place, it is always important to study the terrain of the place so you don't get in trouble. Right? And three, my friend from Harrison, Arkansas has a sense of humor. He's still a good friend of mine. My point is that story once illustrates what I was saying at the beginning of the video, that everything in America is extremely political, even things which are not supposed to be, like you people. And two, getting along with people takes, you seeing past the stereotype of them, which is something we need in Africa. And last of all, charisma. You see how my friend from Arkansas just used humor and charisma to pass a message to me that, well, this expression is not a good expression. Yeah. If you have charisma, it's easy to communicate with everybody. I have this theory that you can have the most controversial views in the world as long as you are charismatic, which should be a lesson to all of us, especially as Africans. Most of the people we idolize are very, very charismatic, and some of them hold bad worldviews, but because they are charismatic, we don't realize it. You see how Trump and Mamdani were able to break each other's defenses because of their charisma? We've had leaders in Africa who've been able to break our defenses because of their charisma, and we should be aware of them. I'm not going to say names, but think about it. Anytime you fall in love with a politician, ask yourself, do you love this guy because he has great ideas you support, or he's charismatic enough you've forgotten that the things he's saying are wrong? Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you are interested in my view on geopolitics. Talk to you later.